live from Honey a Path, South Kakalaka. Today is Monday, December the 30th, 2024. Thank God we about got this one behind us, right, folks? 2024 has just been one crazy year. All right. So I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. I just wanted to pop in and do like sort of a periodical, maybe a daily real earth affirmation. But as it stands right now, I'm just sitting here by myself. There's two of you popped in. There you are. Welcome, welcome one and all. So today is going to be the first of maybe a periodical. I don't want to say daily. I don't want to nail myself down to a daily flurfing affirmation, but you could probably do this daily and have something new to talk about for a year straight, right? So the one that what's up, Sea Lightning 300, brother? I've been trying to get in touch with you. I guess you're probably not in the US, but if you are in the US, shoot me an email, shoot me a text message. And if you're not in the US, then shoot me an email. Okay. And what's up, everybody? I hope you're having a blessed day. Happy New Year, Shawnee B. We will have a better 2025. Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it can't get much worse because it certainly could get much worse. We still have a pretty good thing going here in America. And so I don't want this with anything like that. But, one thing that does trouble me is the fact that the creator is just, right? And so sometimes it just makes me shudder. There's a famous quote of somebody said some shit like that a long time. But it's like, just knowing that there is justice and, because karma is such a bitch, there are people, using the term people loosely, that are, running the show that have a lot of bad karma coming their way. And because adjacent to these people, and they have been a lot of things like, crimes against humanity in our good name, karma's a bitch. So it's just something that we got to keep in mind. So what I wanted to talk about today for my daily real earth affirmation is pressure. And when I'm talking about pressure, I mean literal physical gas pressure, right? So atmospheric pressure or atmosplanic pressure. And so in order to have something like gas pressure, you have to have containment, right? So like if you've got in order to have something like a vacuum or a pressurized environment, you have to have separation between those two, right? You have to have containment to have gas pressure. The two, like it's an antecedent, right? It's so you can't have one without the other, right? You cannot demonstrate a situation where you have a vacuum adjacent to a pressurized environment, right? But in terms of the globe Earth theory, that's exactly what we've got, isn't it? We've got pressurized environment here in the ground, here on the ground, on the physical plane. And then according to the liar-nauts, the nassholes, we've got the vacuum of space, which is just beyond the Kármán line, which is, supposedly like 60 miles up is what they say, or thereabouts, right? And this is something that, what's up, seven Kylans? Okay, yeah, man. Hit me up, themorguile@gmail.com, because, and I'll keep a check. Like I do check my emails, but it's much easier to get a hold of me through text. And then like once you text me, I can do phone calls much easier than any of that. But if you want to keep it strictly to online, that's cool. But I think that it was you who had mentioned some things weeks ago, like while they were still on their way to Antarctica, or like they hadn't released anything yet. And I was just curious what y'all had to say about that, but it's hard to find exactly what you're talking about without. I just wanted to talk to you. That's all. So anyway, I appreciate that, Sea Lightning, and I am also interested to pick your brain a little bit about the lightning as well. So just get in touch. We'll get in touch sometime. Themorguile@gmail.com, and I'll keep a check on that. Anyway, But the thing about the pressure, something that bothered me, as a kid, just pondering the heliocentric model as we do as youngins, right? I was always fascinated by it, but this idea that we have measurable pressure here on the ground. So, like, if you measure the gas pressure, the atmospheric pressure near sea level, as long as we can agree on units of measurement, like pounds and inches and things like that. If we can agree on units of measurement and standardize that, then we have 14.7 pounds per square inch of pressure on average at sea level, right? That's usually what it is. Okay, now of course you have pressure, barometric pressure fluctuates depending on conditions, but it is measurable. So we definitely have pressure, atmosplanic or atmospheric pressure. But the problem is, according to Lyons, we have the infinite vacuum of space just beyond that. And that is a problem for these pesky little natural laws, these laws of physics, right? And you can use big words and say it's violation of thermodynamics, and that's true. You can say it's a violation of entropy, and that's true. And you can say it's a violation of everything that we know about fluid dynamics, and that's true. And the fact that most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, recognize this problem a long time ago, but like never in a million years would we think it's because science, what we've been led to believe is science is not science. It's actually pseudoscience. And somewhere in history, the Copernican principle has run amok to the point to where they are literally brainwashing all generations of toddlers, including myself and everybody watching this video right now, to believe in this nonsensical garbage involving, living stuck to the side of a spinning sphere in outer space. But, if you just barely apply the slightest inkling of skeptical criticism towards your belief in the spinning ball Earth and all the trappings of it, dude, it falls apart. Like, it is such nonsense. But, it takes a lot to get to the point to where you can recognize that, right? Now, once you recognize it, it's so obvious. And it's like, how could we have been fooled about this for so long? But again, you blame anybody. They forced us under duress to believe this nonsense since we were little kids. When you're young like that, you do not have the gumption or the wherewithal or the capacity to debate all the brightest minds in scientific history, right? Who are we to say that these people were wrong, right? The thing about Newton is, even in Principia, it was all hypothetical. Like, I'm not going to lie to you and say that I've read Principia cover to cover. I haven't, but I know enough about it to know for sure that Newton was like, okay, this is hypothetical. This is one way to explain the orbits of these celestial luminaries. There's a lot of assumption going into that. Like, first of all, you've got to assume that they are physical objects. And then once you assume that they're physical objects, you've got to assume, certain distances and certain sizes, like, because when you don't have any reference frame, you could say that these celestial lights are thousands of miles away or thousands of light years away. And there's no way that anybody can prove it. It is beyond our capacity to either verify or falsify. Therefore, anything to do with critical astrophysics is necessarily pseudoscience, isn't it? Because if it's non-demonstrable, non-repeatable, and yet makes claims that it's science, then it's pseudoscience of the worst caliber, right? I mean, if you think about it, the phrase theoretical physics is an oxymoron. It's a contradiction in terms, right? Theoretical meaning like hypothetical, not in the realm of reality, and physics meaning like pertinent to physical reality, actuality, physics, right? So like theoretical physics cancels itself out. It is a contradiction in terms. And anybody that identifies themselves with that sort of oxymoron, so if it says theoretical physicist on your business card and you make a lot of money as a scientist, then who am I? Like, Like, I clearly don't have their credentials to, to debate their expertise. But the thing is, fact remains that nobody's ever going to space to verify or falsify their claims. And the ones who have claimed to go into space are all Freemasons and definitely lying, right? Or like 89% Freemasons. I don't want to say they're all Freemasons, because I'm sure that there's one that you could probably find that, arguably wasn't one. Okay. So why does that matter, John? Why does it matter if you got something against Freemasons? Well, no, not necessarily, no. But the thing about Freemasons is they take an oath to their brotherhood, don't they? And that oath to their brotherhood supersedes any other oaths they might have subsequently taken or, afterwards. And so inherently, you can't trust Freemasons, because if they are dictated to lie about a certain thing, then they have to do it, or they get, dislodged, or whatever the word is for that, right? But we can't trust what their claims are. And again, why do we need to trust people's, like, anyone can go and measure the earth for curvature, right? And better than that, measure the surface of standing water for curvature. It's a very simple thing, right? So like, if the earth's a ball, it's going to have a certain predictable degree of convexity to it, especially large bodies of standing water. Okay. So if the earth's a ball, it's going to have a certain degree of convexity to it. And if it's a plane, then the surface of water is going to be level, right? And I'm sorry to say, water is level. And what this means is that the earth could not be anything but a plane. And as shocking and staggering as that is, it actually a whole slew of other things that have been sort of problems, theoretical problems with our belief system, that, again, anybody that's honest with themselves will recognize. And like, yeah, dude, this guy's actually, that's true. Because we all sort of, like, if we thought about it to any degree in science class growing up, we all sort of came across this issue with pressure, right? So how is it possible to have 14.7 pounds per square inch of pressure at sea level on average here on the ground, but then miles up you have this alleged very good vacuum, like way better vacuum than anything we can replicate here on Earth? Like, maybe NASA can get close, and they don't go in those things, even with their spacesuits on, they don't go anywhere near the inside of those vacuum chambers. The one time they did, the dude's like, the saliva in his mouth started boiling. He was in a spacesuit in the vacuum chamber, and it almost killed him after like a few seconds, right? But this near perfect vacuum past the Kármán line, there is no sort of structure in the heliocentric model separating these two things. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that means there's a dome in the sky. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it means that the infinite space vacuum that we were told exists just beyond the Kármán line couldn't possibly be true. And, this is something that we've all sort of known for a long time, but we never, I don't know what that is, but we never had the cultural tools to articulate a potential alternative, right? Like, never in a million years would we have naturally thought, well, it's obviously, it's because the Earth's flat and the NASA's lying, they fake landing, no. But this one point, so there's so many of these independent globe killers, right? It's just one, okay? And so what I'm going to do on this periodical thing that I'm kicking off for the first time today, and I will definitely do periodically in 2025. But that is what this is. It is a globe killer that, if you don't even bother measuring for curvature, you don't bother, debating whether the Earth is actually at rest. Don't even think about any of that. Just think about this one thing, this huge problem, this plot hole in the heliocentric narrative, right? because NASA has definitely been lying their asses off just about this whole infinite vacuum of space thing just beyond the Kármán line. It's absurd. Like, it is absolutely absurd. They claim, so like the way that they get around this, and by they, I mean the professional anti-flat earthers, the globetards, the way that they get around this is they say that there's a pressure gradient, right? So because there's a pressure gradient, you don't have a high pressured environment adjacent to a vacuum, right? You have a high pressured environment on near the ground, and then as you raise in altitude, it's a slightly less pressure, and then above that, it's slightly less pressure until you get to the point to where the atmosphere is so sparse approaching the Kármán line. Once you go beyond the Kármán line, you just have this gradient that perfectly phases into a vacuum. And so you don't have a problem with thermodynamics. It's solved because of gravity. Magic, really. But so here's the thing. If you actually just humor what they're saying, and I know the shortcut around this, the shortcut being you can't have pressure without containment, and pressure gradients pre-require pressure, right? So have you ever seen a pressure gradient that is not contained, right? So, but humoring this, so with their argument a bit, and just forgetting that shortcut around this totally illogical nonsense for a moment. So what they're saying is that the gravity, gravity created by the Earth, is keeping the little sparsely peppered molecules of very light gases like helium and nitrogen and things like that. Gravity is keeping these little sparse particles of gas from going out into the vacuum of space. That's gravity doing that. And the thing about gravity is gravity's been debunked, but it is supposedly caused of the relationship of two massive bodies, and it is inversely proportional to the distance between the two. So the further two objects get away from each other, the less that gravitic relationship is, supposedly, right? And also, the lighter the mass or the smaller the object, either one, the less the gravitic relationship would be, right? So like if gravity is keeping gases, near the Earth that's like a foot from the ground, okay, so gravity's keeping that gas near the ground there. Gravity 60 miles up would be definitely less potent than the gravity 3 feet from the ground or whatever, right? This makes no sense. Like, first of all, gravity, we're still begging for proof of this theory of gravity. Like, you're never going to prove gravity because it theoretically doesn't need to exist, right? Gravity, the only reason that gravity even hypothetically needs to exist is if you assume that the Earth is a spinning ball, right? That's it. So like if the Earth is a spinning ball, the thing you would expect is what goes up must come, right? So like if you've ever been on the gravitron at the fair, like if you're spinning around an axis and you throw something away from the axis, the last thing you expect is that thing going to yo-yo back to you, right? And so if you assume the Earth is a spinning ball, then you need something like gravity to achieve what goes up must come down, right? But if the Earth is a plane and we're not spinning, demonstrably at rest, the natural laws of density, relative density and buoyancy answers this perfectly. But if the Earth isn't a ball and it doesn't have curvature, then it can't be warping space-time, right? What is space-time anyway? A theory dreamed up by Einstein, so it must be true? No, like all this pseudoscience goes right out the window with a simple, direct measurement of the surface of standing water. That's it. Conversation over. Whatever your views of what's going on in the heavens are, and like when we start dictating what the heavens can and cannot do, the celestial luminaries, that is such folly. Anyway, I'm gonna I'm gonna wrap this one up, guys. We are right at an hour, I think, and I'm gonna try to keep these under an hour. I'm putting together, so I'll have something out today. It's gonna be a repost. It's rendering, so as long as I don't have any rendering issues, we'll have it out today. So be on the lookout for that. And let me know in the comments here uh, what you guys would like to talk about in the next periodical. And Happy New Year's to you guys. I hope you all have a safe and lovely New Year's. I want to give a big thanks and shout out to the channel supporters. You guys are the best. Thank you. We did finally get some food in us, so that was very kind of y'all. Thank you. And I will see y'all very soon. That's it. Wrapping it up. One love, you guys. Be good. And as always, spread the word. Spread the world. And peace out, everybody. Bye.